Brodie by Muriel Spark, and Derek here, as promised, with an article from the Oldie. Derek, your favourite magazine, I'm told.
My favourite magazine, and Terry Wogan's favourite magazine as well, I have to say.
I think you've mentioned that also, Derek.
Yes. This is a regular column in the Oldie, and this particular article is from this month's edition. And it's written by a current-day teacher called Kate Sawyer, and she's in her 50s, and she's been teaching for a long time, and the things she has to say are very, very interesting. This one is entitled, "Will I Never Learn My Lesson?" And to link it to the last item that we had, it's subtitled, "Experience Should Have Taught Me I'm Not Jean Brodie." It's not often that I find myself at a loss with my students. Enraged sometimes, delighted other times, very occasionally bored. But that's mostly to do with the small ones banging on about what's happened to their pens and whether they can go to the lavatory. It's not very often that I'm genuinely thrown by how to deal with a child. And when I am, it's always down to one basic problem. They tell you when you go into teaching that you're not there to be liked. While that is obviously true, it is also self-evident that if a child likes you, it will work harder for you. That in itself is not a problem, at least not usually. Very occasionally, the liking that I engender among my students turns difficult. They do like me. That may sound like a boast, but it is something I hold on to when times are tough. However the Ofsted standards change, there are two areas in which I always do very well: subject knowledge and whatever they currently call classroom atmosphere. In other words, you can see when you come into my room that the children are keen to please me and to work. Those are the reasons that I keep turning up to the place, despite whatever crazy new initiatives or teaching methods are irritating me. So what can possibly go wrong? The truth is that it can become too close, too stifling, especially when you're dealing with a child who has other problems and who begins to rely on you. But even now I am being disingenuous. I should not lay the blame on the child. There have been a few children, very few really, to whom I have had a visceral reaction of dislike. They're not necessarily the ones you might expect, the bad boys or the mouthy girls. And each time I fight to overcome it and hate myself for it. I make especially sure that those are the children whose work I put forward for moderation, in case I have either been too tough or overcompensated and been too kind. But there are also a few to whom I have found myself drawn in a crazy "I can save you" way. We're not there to save them. We are there to give them the best chance we can, and our remit should stop with the chances that good GCSE grades offer them. There have only been a few. A boy with a father in prison and his own particular drug-dealing issues. A girl whose baby might have been her boyfriend's or might have been his father's. Another girl in the throes of coming out and drug experimentation. A boy whose evangelical family was trying to drive him into the arms of the church. A boy who'd been moved from school to school for various hideous reasons. Each time I was going to save them. Never mind getting them to love Shakespeare. I was going to turn them into well-rounded, morally sound, happy and well-mannered citizens. I should know by now. In some ways, I am wise. I looked at my first ever tutor group and predicted the girl who would be first pregnant. I still fought and sweated and cajoled and bullied her in the hope that she would get an English GCSE. But despite all that, she managed, aged 21, to have borne 3 children by 3 men, to none of whom she would talk. So why don't I learn? Very occasionally, and it has happened recently, I have gone to the big cheeses and confessed myself at a loss. I've admitted that the child is playing me, that I've got in too deep, that despite my best intentions and hardest efforts, I am neither Jean Brodie nor Mary Poppins, just another muddled, affectionate, optimistic fool who thinks that my own willpower and energy will pick up this child and put them on the right road. I'm in my 50s. I've been at this game for quite a long time now. Maybe I should stop the idealism and abandon these children to their own willful mistakes. But if I do, I think I should hang up my mortarboard and stop teaching entirely. So, until then, my door is still open. I'll listen to the sob stories and try to make them laugh and hope that in some small way I can help them see the world as a tiny bit brighter than they did before they knocked.
Thank you, Derek. Yeah, nice article there. I suppose
Yes.
It's,
A lot of good sense she speaks.
yes, I
Yes.
suppose, and it also highlights the fact that to be a teacher, you don't just having the desire to teach is sort of obviously the main factor, but you also need that optimism and kind of tenacity to really
And
power
keep
through
it
that,
up for year upon year.